welcome to Inside Bikes. I'm Paul and today we're out riding Kawasaki's new for 2024 Z500. The Z500 is Kawasaki's contender in the A2 class. It's up against some pretty hot competition, most significantly the Honda Hornet, and this is priced and spec'd on a pretty similar level to a bike that sells well and that we're big fans of on the channel. That might be a new model for 2024, but it's not an all new model. Actually, it traces its roots to the Z400, and the Z400 has been hugely popular over the years. Hugely popular with riding schools, commuters, and even in its fared version, the Ninja 400, it's a World Championship winning race bike. It's the bike to have in the Junior Super Sport 300 class. So it's got some potential and it's got some pedigree, and quite interested to see what it rides like. The first feeling you get in your first encounter with this bike is lightness. It feels a bit like a sort of slightly bigger 125, like one of the premium 125s like the KTM or the Yamaha MT 125. Feels like them. It's really light, really narrow, really easy to get on with. And for relatively inexperienced riders, that is a big tick in the box. It's got 172 kilogram weight, fully fueled. Now I thought when I picked this up, I thought they hadn't put any fuel in it, but it has. It's got all 14 litres of fuel in it. Really carries its weight incredibly well. It's lighter than the Honda Hornet, a little bit less powerful. It makes about 45 horsepower, so just under the 47 horsepower allowed under A2 license regulations. And also the seat height, 785 millimeters, is in itself quite low, but the spec sheet doesn't say everything about it because it's quite narrow, really easy to get on with. If you're thinking about getting one of these, you shouldn't feel intimidated about riding one at all. Now, the last time I rode a Z400 was quite a few years ago, probably 7-8 years ago maybe, and I really liked it. I thought it was great fun. You really had to rev it hard, but it was very entertaining to ride, but felt a little bit cheap, and they've added a lot of polish to this new model. So where the old 400 had like cheap Chinese tyres, this has got decent Dunlop Sport Max tyres. Great thing about this version is the SE version, so £300 more than the standard version, but you get this lovely TFT dashboard and you get a more premium paint finish. Green isn't to everyone's cup of tea, but I tell you what, that's a really lustrous, lovely, distinctive colour. The metal flake in both the matte and the gloss finish, it really pings out. If you don't like the green, they do the SE in a red as well. And if you go for the standard version, which has got an LCD dash, a little bit less specification, it's plain black. Standard version also has a plain black frame, which you might prefer if you want to go a little bit more under the radar. So the big difference about this bike compared to the old bike is the engine. They're calling it a 500, cheating a little bit, it's actually a 451cc, so probably more like a 450 than a 500, but Honda actually is a 471, so it's not a full 500 either. It's got a bit more power, only half a horsepower more than the old 400, but much more torque, quite a significant amount of extra torque, and it's all delivered lower down the rev range. It does make for a much easier to ride bike. It's still quite buzzy. One of my gripes about the old 400 was that it was quite buzzy, and this is no exception. Get to 6,000 RPM and you do feel the vibrations coming through. That's kind of common on these sort of smaller parallel twin engines. One of the benefits of a bigger bike is that you get a smoother engine, so it does feel like you're thrashing it a little bit. I found that depending on where I sat, the vibrations were more or less, so I had to sit a little bit further back in the seat, a little bit lighter in my grip, a little bit lighter in the way that I put my foot in the foot pegs. Actually, I found a position that did work for me, but initially it did feel really vibey, and that carried through to the mirrors as well. But overall, they've really increased the premium feel. Like things like the mirrors, the TFT dash, they all just feel a little spec up from what they were in the past. Some areas it does still look a bit budget. It's got a single front disc now. The brakes work really well on the bike, and the benefit of having a single front disc brake is it's lighter. It creates that really nice light handling effect. In terms of braking power, it probably doesn't feel like it needs any more. But Honda's got twin discs on it, and what that benefit of that is, if nothing else, is it just makes it feel a little bit more of a sort of more bigger grown-up bike. So I think the fact that you see that exposed wheel does sort of give away its small capacity. So I would have liked to have seen a front disc, or I would have liked to have seen a twin front disc setup, if only really for vanity, if nothing else. Likewise, the suspension works adequately well, but standard right way up suspension, so I do give away the fact that it is a bit of a budget bike. And it really is reasonably priced motorcycle. So this SE version costs £6,049, and that's a good 150 quid less than the equivalent Hornet. Now the Hornet does have it a little bit more on spec, but I'd say this is probably a little bit more engaging to ride. It's lighter, it's a little bit more fun, you have to really work it. And I think, you know, without riding them back to back, it's hard to say which is better than the other one. But what I would say is they both give a really good choice in the marketplace. Whether you prefer the Honda or the Kawasaki, you're not going to have a bad bike. Look, I've really enjoyed riding it. I think the thing that's most impressed me is how it really has risen up a step from where the 400 was. It feels more grown up. What I really like about this bike is that they've taken the 400, which is already a really successful bike, and they just put a layer of polish on it. The extra capacity just makes it a little bit easier to ride. Sure, you've still got to thrash it and ride it hard to get the most out of it, but that's normal for smallish capacity bikes. But the standard of the paint, the dashboard, everything just feels a little bit more premium than it did before. It's a really great job from Kawasaki. I think that Honda have kind of got the sector really sort of sewn up, but this is a really credible example. It feels a bit lighter, feels a bit more agile, it's a little bit less expensive, maybe not quite got the spec of the Honda, but you know what? It's a great job by Kawasaki. Really enjoyed riding this. I'm going to go off, I'm going to write a full review on the bike, I'm going to put it on the Cow & Ash website, I'm going to put a link below the video here. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and you'll see more reviews on bikes coming soon. Thanks again.